We're back. This is the third and final part of the third episode of SolCast, where we're discussing the implementation of solar energy and sustainable practices in residential spaces. I'm here with Max and our guest for this episode, Mr. Subramaniam. In the last part, we discussed the policies around solar energy in India and Karnataka, and also the future of energy trading, which looks like a peer to peer energy trading network. In this session, I'd like to ask you, Mr. Subramaniam, how has IoT been integral to your solar setup? Has the data been helpful? What improvements are you hoping to see in the setup going forward?
Yeah, the IoT based system here is actually embedded right into the inverter and the solar charge controller. So actually, I'm able to really visualize what is the present consumption or production of my plant sitting anywhere in the world, because it's already connected to my existing router and to my internet at home. I can, at the flick of a button on my smartphone or on my PC, can go and check up as to what's really happening on my power plant. So I can go ahead and actually change the profile in terms of doing what I want to do. For example, if I want to actually start charging my battery, or I want to look at uh, uh, putting off the inverter altogether, I can do that. So this can be, I don't have to be at the site. I can be anywhere in the world as long as I have an internet connection on my at the tip of my fingers. I can be able to interact with the system and be able to command it and tell what to do.
I think the key is not just IoT is just not just for monitoring but control. That's the point Mr. Subramaniam is making, and that's where the advantages are. And imagine this is done in a with an integration to blockchain where preset commands can be made. If your consumption is below a certain level, sell it at this price to whoever it is, depending on time of day. So we're really embarking on a very, very tech savvy world where all of this can be made very, very simple and easy to use for the end consumer without any complications. All that complications could exist in the background, but from a customer understanding standpoint, it should be very, very seamless. And that's where the design of the product is very, very critical.
Yeah, as I borrowed earlier, Mux, the same thing I was mentioning. The innards and the complexities of the system are all well hidden away from the user, and it's quite easily controllable using any web page or any a smartphone system, where you can just log on to the web page and actually see your system.
Excellent. Thanks for that feedback.
IoT has really made the entire process of energy generation and consumption completely transparent. And this also brings us to the integration of home automation and solar energy.
The combination of home automation and solar. Okay. So this is, since you mentioned IoT, it's not just the solar part or your overall load consumption. We are at a point where we can actually measure what is the current consumption in each of the loads, right? And control turn on and off of loads. In fact, non-critical loads like washing machine can be done using time of day philosophy, where solar is available maximum, where we can do supply and demand matching. So that's an area where we are also working on. I think Subramaniam has something to say here. Yeah.
Next here is that we do have automation solutions coming up in India, wherein, as you said rightly, we can look at switching on and switching off various consumer-based goods depending upon the time of day. But as of now, time of day is not a concept which is really there in our ESCOM-based philosophy. Probably we will have it in the near future. But we do have multiple companies in India who are actually rolling out products for which can be controlled through IoT and be able to switch on and switch off various consumer goods based on the flick of a button, which is a reality already.
Correct. So the home automation piece, I agree, is a reality already. But the coupling part of home automation and solar is where we are doing some trend-setting pioneering work. I think that we are proud of. You'll hear about it more in the upcoming months. And that's something that is unique to using solar as the primary hub for home automation. And there's a lot that can be said and done on that. We've filed for some IP also on that. And there's a lot going on in this area. Okay.
That's great to hear, Max. Look forward to seeing the product being rolled out by you at the earliest.
Thank you. We are working on it.
That really does sound exciting. I am looking forward to seeing it in action soon. Taking a step back from solar, Mr. Subramaniam, you've been extremely proactive in trying to be as sustainable as possible in your home. On this occasion of World Environment Day, we would love to hear how you've managed to integrate these different aspects of sustainability in your everyday life, from energy to water to waste management. Please do tell us about it.
Yeah, I think before Mr. Subramaniam takes over, I'd like to see that tell the viewers and listeners that you have to see it to believe it. I think he has done a lot of groundwork. He now heads the water advocacy group in Bangalore, and he has done some really mind-boggling work in this area. I'll let him take over and give you a spiel of it. And some of his work is already published, and he'll let you point to some links on that as
Thank you, Max and Prasanna, for your compliments. Notwithstanding this, I just want to point out a few things here. See, I stay in a small house, which is a 30 by 40, that is 30 feet by 40 feet, and that's an area of 1,200 square feet. So everybody who stays in an independent house has got a terrace, and there are two things we can really channel. One is the rainwater, other is the sunlight, which comes in naturally to you. We discussed about the sun and how we can harness the energy from the sun to be able to use it for electricity or heating up of water applications. As far as water goes, what I would like to bring out here is that a typical family of four probably would use around 500 liters of water every day. And this 500 liters of water, maximum part of that, around 150 liters, just goes into flushing your loo. So that's a sheer waste of good water for flushing purposes. What I would advocate and what I would recommend here is a threefold measure. One is harvest the water. Second is economize the water. And third is reuse the water. Let's talk about the first part, which is the harvesting the water. If you have a house of 100 meters squared and you have a rainfall of around 1000 millimeters in a year, which is what Bangalore gets typically, you will be able to accumulate around 1 lakh liters of water. And if you are really using and reusing the water, a family of four can actually survive with that 1 lakh liter water without any dependence from the outside world.
fantastic. This is based on Bangalore rain.
This is based on Bangalore's rain, and in fact, there is one professor at IASC who has actually implemented this particular thing in his house. His name is Mr. Shiv Kumar. You can probably Google it and check out his home in Vijayanagar. He has built a house almost around 23, 24 years ago, and he doesn't have a connection from the local water service company, and he depends only on what rainfall actually happens in Bangalore.
That's amazing. If imagine if that thought spreads like wildfire to our viewers, and we would highly recommend that people take this up on a direct and serious basis. And we'll provide some links to Mr. Subramaniam's work and the IISc professor's work. So in our blog and our podcast, so that this can be taken up in a large way within the communities.
Yeah, I talked about harvesting of water. Two other things which I would like to bring out is economizing of water in terms of the kind of aerators which you use in your taps or showers, which actually throttles the flow of water and reduces the flow of water. The third thing is reuse. Typically, all of us have there are three kinds of water. You look at it: the potable water, which is also called white water, and you have the black water, which comes in touch with the fecal and the urine material, which actually goes back into underground drainage and goes to the water supply board for further processing. And the third kind of water is the grey water. Due to concretization, what we have been doing is that in urban areas, we are letting this grey water go waste into the back to the sanitary board. My recommendation would be to tap the grey water. What is grey water? Grey water is if you take a bath, you run your washing machine. This water is usable. Trap it in a container at the bottom of your house. Take it back onto a separate tank on top and use that water for flushing your loose. So you can just save 150 liters of water every day. You take a bath. If four people are there in a house, you consume around 100 liters of water, and probably you may be using a washing machine every second day. That will give you around 150 liters in 2 days, or 75 liters a day. So 175 liters of water is actually getting wasted and going into the drainage, into your sewage line. This can be used for your flushing purposes and thereby saving 150 liters of water on a regular daily basis.
Fantastic. I think, and this also couples very well with the type of surfactants and soaps that you use,
Yes.
so that it's eco-friendly.
Very relevant point in the times we have in Bangalore. People who are probably staying in an apartment probably would have an STP, which would actually look at
Sewage treatment plant.
sewage treatment plant, which would actually process the water which is black or gray and be able to use it for your flushing purposes. But people who are staying in Bangalore in individual houses, 80% of the houses in Bangalore are actually individual houses, and they let the
That's a mind-boggling philosophy.
mind-boggling
number in itself.
Yeah, it is.
80%. Wow.
just imagine 80% of
We were talking about the vertical growth of Bangalore. That's only 20%.
yeah, a very relevant point here, Max. The Bangalore uses almost around 1,000 million liters of water daily. So you just imagine if 30% of this water can be saved instead of flushing it down. Okay, 80% of that and 30% of that would be almost around 200 or 300 mLs of water every day is used just for flushing. Can you imagine the waste which is there when we are so constrained in such a precious resource like fresh water? So my recommendation would be go in for grey water harvesting. Use the water sensibly, and you will be able to not face the pinch in March. Usually, what happens in Bangalore is you start looking up at the levels of the KRS water dam in the month of March, when you feel that the water levels are going down, and you go splitting your hair. Oh, this summer will I be able to have water? So, if you are really able to use the rainwater during the monsoon months from June, July, August, September, and reuse the water, I don't think we need any water source of Kaveri. Just to put it in perspective, Bangalore receives around 20,000 million cubic feet of water in a year. The present consumption of water by Bangalore is around 15 TMC. Can you imagine we get more amount of rainfall than what we consume from Kaveri water?
That's unbelievable.
That's a fact. And if everybody would do his bit in harvesting the water, you wouldn't have flooding of roads. You would be able to have a safe commute during your monsoon times, and you wouldn't have to feel the pressure and burden in the month of March and April, and probably you will not be looking at a Cape Town situation. So that's my point which I would like to. And the last point which I want to bring out here is solar, and then you had water, and the third thing is waste management. So what I have really been doing is I look at a holistic solution wherein I have tied up everything together in terms of using my terrace. I have put a cover on top of my terrace on which my solar panels are mounted, and if the rain falls, when the rain is there during the monsoons, there is a gutter at the bottom of the sheet which collects the water and channels it to my rainwater harvesting system. So that takes care of the rainwater harvesting system and having a terrace. And my terrace is now available for terrace gardening. So I don't put my panels directly on my terrace. I have mounted it on top of a structure where the panels are located. So thereby I can use my terrace for gardening. So what I have done is, instead of throwing my waste material in terms of the organic material, vegetables and things into the garbage collection every day, I do my composting on top, and every year I get a good yield of compost which I'm using for my gardening purposes for all my pots and vegetables. So I grow my own vegetables.
Fantastic. I mean, talk about self-sustainability, and I think solar is just a small part of it, right? So you see what all he's done. in terms of reduce, reuse, recycle, and waste management. It's fabulous. I'm really proud to have you as our customer.
Thank you, Max. Thank you for the compliments. I wish more of your listeners and viewers probably understand the message behind what I'm saying and adapt to the changing needs of this particular world.
No, I think very valid point. I think as we know of it, right? I keep telling to my friends and family, the next world war is going to be on water, right? I think the conservation of water is going to be paramount an issue, and before people realizes it's going to hit them with like a brick, like a huge brick of with heavy weight, right? So we need to take a cognizance of that and take the relevant actions like you have exampled here, and for that and your exemplary service in the Navy, we thank you with all our might and heart.
Thank you very much, Max. It was really nice speaking to you. Thank you.
You really are an inspiration for all of us, Mr. Subramaniam. I hope our listeners and the larger population in Bangalore and across the country are able to implement at least some of the practices mentioned by you. That brings us to the end of this episode. It was great to have you here with us, Mr. Subramaniam. And of course, thanks a lot again, Max.
Fantastic. Thank you very much, everybody.
Thank you.
I love talking.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Subramaniam.
Thank you, Max. And thank you, Prasanna.
Bye.